What a man, what a man, what a man, what a mighty good man. Jason Knight, ECW icon. How we doing?
We're doing well. How are you?
I'm over the moon, man. I've told people for years, you never got your due. You was there for years. And I mean, you have your moments, but I don't think Jason Knight got his due. He's getting his due on WrestleRoni tonight for what that's worth, for whatever WrestleRoni's worth. How we feeling right now in life, Jason Knight?
Doing well. I mean, still keeping on, and nothing's to stop me. Nothing that I
Obviously.
see in front of me.
Obviously. Recently, you announced the relaunch of ACW, Salt Championship Wrestling. What can you tell me about your past experiences with the promotion and what we're looking forward to?
Well, it's something that I ran years ago in Connecticut, and it did well for a while until I pretty much started digging knives out of my back, you know, and recruiting a lot of people that would sort of try to sabotage the whole thing because people wanted to go out on their own and that kind of a thing, and it could have been done in a more classy manner, but it sort of made me feel kind of disgusted with running my promotion, and it never, there was it was it ended right there as it should have really launched itself even further and stronger. And this time I'm going to try to do it the right way. Or should I say, I'm going to do it the right way.
Hell yeah. August 12th. August 12th, where are you landing? New Jersey coming up. What can the fans expect from the relaunch of Assault Championship Wrestling?
Uh, I hope nothing but the best because, like I said, I have some very good people working with me. My girlfriend Desiree, and of course, my old friend Angel Amoroso, another ECW original, legend herself. And, she has she brings a lot of creativity and a lot of force and command into this group, and we're all doing it together. So there's going to be something for everyone, including a fan fest and the whole meet and greet, and then of course the main show, and it'll feature wrestling the way it's supposed to be.
Heck yeah. Awesome. And speaking of your girlfriend, many thanks to her for running the camera. I was also notified you
Yep.
got a convention coming up, I believe July 15th. Is that right?
Would that be it? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. July 15th, yes, yeah. And what is it? Catastrophicon?
Oh,
Catastrophicon out of I have to look up
Yeah.
the address, but it's out of New York.
awesome.
New York?
Yes.
Oh, the state of New York. Okay.
Yes. Bobby Steele will be there, Ari Lehman,
Okay.
bunch of really
Angel and I. And
yes, Angel and you.
you'll be there.
Yes.
Well,
Sweet.
yeah, we'll all be there. Yeah.
Awesome. You had mentioned it's going to be wrestling the way it should be. What's your vision of the way wrestling should be? It's your promotion, so how should it be?
Uh, I think a good variety of action-packed wrestling that features uh, not only the up and coming, and God bless them, the up and coming younger generation, but it seems that more and more wrestling promotions are focusing on running these almost like too fast for their own good uh, type matches that
Hmm.
it's almost like you have no time to sit there and enjoy the psychology and that part, which is probably the most important part of professional wrestling, and I think that that can only be brought on by very talented uh, uh, again, the younger generation that gets it, and of course, they're learning from the veterans. So we're going to try to mix it up and just turn it loose.
I dig the philosophy. You do have a point. You know, there's a lot of spot fest. I'm a fan of all of it. You know, but I definitely get where you're coming from. So I tell you what, let's switch it back to an event I was fortunate enough to be at, Heat Wave '99. My grandmother's first wrestling show had to be an ECW show. And we had Jason against Jazz. And I know you guys
Yeah.
have worked each other at a few house shows before and after. All the matches are wild and fun. But what can you tell me about that little rivalry you guys had going? What you remember of that?
Um, I found it very interesting because um, I gained trust. Uh, Paul Heyman had trust in me, and he wanted something that would be very unique. And I think that the match, and especially for a pay-per-view match, I mean, you can't really. There's not much you can do with a live pay-per-view match if there's a mess up or a misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm.
You can't fix it within 7 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, I was extremely pleased with it, and I think that everyone else was. And we were going into it, and it was a little bit like pulling teeth because Jazz was not very confident
Mm.
in the beginning, and she had to gain that confidence. And at the same time, she was working on her look, her physique, her conditioning, uh, and all the above. Even though when she came into the ECW, the very first time she was an athlete. I don't think that she was. I don't think that she was. I'm not sure if she was fully trained or not.
Mm.
So I don't want to say something that would offend anyone. But her and Rodney both were very young. I think they were very young in the business, but just had that unbelievable natural gift, and they got it just like that. But Jazz and I kind of worked on that through weeks and months,
Mm.
and the final product was the actual pay-per-view match, which was almost flawless. Again, considering that it was live on pay-per-view and room for mistakes you really don't have, and if you do mess up, you better know how to cover it.
Right.
Therefore, I think the whole thing was a tremendous experience for everybody, and I believe that the reception was uh, quite good.
Yeah. And to see how far she went after that, and
Oh,
to
yeah.
think you were kind of the jumping off point for her career when it comes down to it. So that's something you should be damn proud of, man. So props
Yeah,
to you for that.
yeah, and I'm extremely happy for her because she's always been a very fine, down to earth person that never deviated from being exactly who she is. And again, just an incredibly fine person that sticks to her beliefs and a super professional.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very happy for her and Rodney.
Good. Good. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. They've got the status nowadays. So good for them. And I'll tell you what, you mentioned good down to earth people. That's something I love to spotlight on this show. You hear so much negative about the wrestling community. I like to spotlight the
The time,
positive. You saw them all come and go in ECW. Tell the
yeah.
folks at home about some of the good down to earth people that were in that ECW locker room.
Well, I would have to say that probably 90, maybe 95% of our staff,
Mm-hmm.
which includes everybody, not only the wrestlers, the performers, but everybody. Well, 95% of those people were very good people, and it's almost like someone had chosen us and put us in one place where we could all uh, be happy with one another, and it was a job worth going to.
Mm-hmm.
And the the only thing that probably toward the end I did not enjoy is where I was placed, my placement. I wanted to do something different, something on my own. I didn't want to be a part of the impact players and that whole team thing and the whole managing thing because who wants to see a manager when you have the girls that they brought in, obviously, they're the selling point. So I kind of felt like that extra wheel that does not belong there, and
Mm-hmm.
a tire that's the wrong size. So, I toward the end, my attitude started getting a little bit cross.
I get it.
I didn't really take it out on anyone, but you could, you know, I mean, I could feel it, because it started getting to a point where I didn't enjoy going to work, and
Really.
I wanted to, yeah, I just wanted to kind of be on my own, do something else, and
I
not necessarily be a part of this group because at some point, with the whole impact players thing, you remember it was let's say it was Justin and Lance, and then we had Nicole Bass, and then we had Chastity, and then we had Jazz, and then myself. So
mm-hmm.
that's like seven people that really everything was kind of like not making sense, and then they sort of started eliminating. Um, I would say non-essential personnel for that particular faction
Mm-hmm.
and putting them somewhere else, where they needed to be. And I was hoping for the same, but it never came to that.
I understand because I mean you were there since I mean I want to
93,
say '94 if not before
93.
'93 even, and you were having matches, and then you
Yeah.
kind of got put with Justin Credible, and you were in that role, which you did great in that role. Tell me
Yeah.
about
Well,
some. Go
you
ahead.
do you do what you need to do, and I mean, you try to find something uh, something positive within. Uh, I don't want to say negative because it wasn't negative. I just think, and again, to his credit and to Lance's credit, they did not need a manager.
Right.
They were great on their own. And if they were going to have Don Marie, absolutely. I mean, I think she was most certainly the selling point there and enhanced their team and their teamwork and camaraderie.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't need me. I was there uh, just collecting a check whenever they didn't bounce,
Right.
and basically, I never really like personally, I never felt like I was like blending in, and there were a few cute promos like the one in a hot tub, where I pretended that I was naked in the hot tub and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Few moments, that were like tongue in cheek and a little bit of entertainment from Jason to the fans, and it meant something. But they quickly forgot because again, you had an excellent team, a hell of a team, and a beautiful woman with them as well. So I, I was not an essential personnel at the time, and I just wanted to do something on my own. And Paul Heyman did promise me that he would kind of do something for me where I would have my own thing, and I never asked for anything huge or any kind of a push.
Mm-hmm.
I never brown nosed ever,
Mm-hmm.
and And I'm glad that I didn't, because even if it got me to a point where I was more successful, I wouldn't feel comfortable with myself. But I just wish that they would have did something, or he would have done something for me that would have made me happier. And I mean, I was more than willing to just um, be on my own, wrestle, and um, bring in these new talented young people
Mm-hmm.
and help me get them over,
Right.
because it would have secured my position. I would have had a job, and I know that I would have done a great job.
Yeah.
Uh, I guess they call it being a jobber, but whatever the fuck, you know. I mean, it's just a terminology anyway. I wanted to work, and especially toward the end, I was getting a bit older, already. I guess in my late 30s, early 40s, or whatever. I got myself into really great shape, and I said, well, this is it. I mean, who better than me to help these young, talented people that you're bringing in, uh, put them through me,
Yeah.
and then release them out there. Make them into whatever you want them to be, but let me help them out. Let me get them over. And I had no problem doing that, but it was not to happen. So a lot of things were sort of uncomfortable, and it started showing. You know,
Right. But is that something you kind of take with you to your own promotion? That you didn't get to do it in ECW, so why not try to get some of these young guys over now in Assault Championship Wrestling?
yeah. I mean, I ran the company. I ran the company before, and I probably, whenever I wrestled, I probably lost most of my matches, because it was about them, not about me.
Hell yeah.
You know, but I could have done the right thing.
Hmm.
Ran my own promotion and put every single friggin' belt on me.
There's still
I
time.
could have done that. You know,
Yeah, you still have time. If that's something you
oh
want to
yeah,
do, have at
oh
it.
sure, yeah, I'll remortgage everything, and sell all my vehicles and just get a bunch of belts, and just I'll dress in belts. How's that?
You wouldn't be the first, so why
No,
not?
I wouldn't be. No, yeah, I'll be the world heavyweight champion
Yeah, of
of my
Pennsylvania
own
or
promotion.
New
Oh
Jersey.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, I mean, and pretty much, I'll go anywhere I need to go, and I'll carry the belts with me. How's that?
I'm down. I'm down, man.
Yeah, yeah,
You sold me a ticket. I'm there, man. Let's
yeah,
go.
yeah,
You were there for the rise of ECW. Like you said, you were there since '93. Can you
yeah.
remember there being a moment where you was like, "Wow, we're doing something here. We're getting some attention. ECW is picking up."
Honestly, in '93, when I was first there, and it was Ultra Clash '93.
Okay.
And ironically enough, I wasn't supposed to wrestle, because it wasn't a few months earlier I had my second lower back surgery. You know,
Mm.
and of course Paul Heyman talked me into wrestling that night, and I did. But to his defense, and I was in the ring with Rocco Rock, and Johnny Grunge,
Hmm.
Teddy and Johnny, or
Hmm.
Teddy and Mike. They were my friends from way before. And I knew the guys, and I knew that they realized that I was still healing from my I mean, for goodness sake, lower back surgery.
Hmm.
So, and they knew I did not want to get paralyzed, so they knew how to work with me. Uh, that actually, that very first time in Eastern Championship Wrestling, I knew it was going somewhere. It was going places, because number one, it had a great card.
Hmm.
Uh, the the ECW arena was jam packed.
Mm-hmm.
I think it. I'm not sure what the number of people, fans were, but it was several hundred.
Mm-hmm.
And normally on the independent circuit, you don't really see much of that.
Yeah.
You know, there were a few guys back in the day that would uh, that would run shows, and they would pack they would pack these arenas with the fans, and one was my good friend Mitch Seinfeld, and of course Tommy D and guys like that, that had good promotional sense. But many of the other independent shows that I would attend, and work were not as successful. So to me, the ECW arena, I mean, every seat was packed. There was standing room for Ultra Clash, and I knew right there and then, that this was something serious, and it was going to take off, and just and of course, a bunch of legendary wrestlers like Abdullah the Butcher and Terry Funk and Stan Hansen, and then of course, the the ones that I refer to as the ECW originals.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Angel Amoroso, and you had Tony Stetson, Johnny Hotbody, the Sandman, the Rockin' Rebel. You had it was just a whole lot of talent that was local, and they did put asses in seats because they were great, and they they had a big fan following,
Mm-hmm.
even though they were local, and pretty much you could probably run into them at the supermarket, but you would still want to see them wrestle. And
Right. Yep.
that really tells a lot. They were like local heroes, and to me, when I that very first night, the Ultra Clash '93, I knew that it was going somewhere because it just had a whole lot of talent, and it was, I believe, that one of the companies where the local talent was really the uh, main interest,
Right. Yeah.
and all the other legendary veterans, as I mentioned, Henson and Abdullah, and they were almost like props. Like they were there because they needed to be there, but the local talent was really the ones that were. And if you look at it, the Public Enemy, they became great, and I teamed up with Ian Rotten
Mm-hmm.
against the Public Enemy, and then of course Ian and Axel became bigger than life because
Mm-hmm.
they had some incredible matches, and there was J.T. Smith again, the Rock and
Yeah.
Rebel. The Sandman became bigger than life. Tommy Cairo, all those guys that were there. I mean, just a bunch of just just bunched up incredible local talent that should have been higher up than they were.
Right. Yeah. And I'm glad you threw JT Smith out there as well. Another one that doesn't get his due. So
Yeah,
hell yeah.
yeah. Donnie Allen was Hunter Q Robbins the third.
Yeah.
He was manager. I mean, we had there were, and of course Sandman's ex-wife Peaches,
Mm-hmm.
Lori Peaches. That was extremely instrumental, and opened up a lot of doors for the women in professional wrestling. And sadly she's not mentioned a lot, but she should be.
Yep. Exactly. Another one that deserves their due. When you
Yes.
when you was naming the legends, you threw Terry Funk out there. Anytime, man, it just makes my heart beat an extra beat when I hear Terry Funk. What can you tell
Yeah.
the listeners about your experiences with Terry Funk.
Oh, wonderful man! And I'll tell you what, if you're willing to learn, he's willing to teach.
Yeah.
And extremely selfless, uh, very, very down to earth, and uh, patience of a saint. And if you, if you're willing to sit and learn from the best, Terry Funk is the man. His brother as well, Dory Jr. I mean, I know them both. I met them both. I know Terry a little bit better because I've spent a little more time with
Hmm.
Terry. Uh, just unbelievable, unreal. And if there's ever a match with Terry Funk, please watch it.
Yeah.
You will learn so much. I mean, there's just so much to learn from Terry Funk in, in every way. And it's almost like he was tremendous when he was younger, and in his own way, he became even more tremendous as he got older
For,
because of kind of he just has a unique style and he's able to adapt.
oh yeah. If anybody is. No doubt. So you guys, I mean, you're cooking. Like you say, it started out with all this great local talent. It was a perfect storm. You had all this great local talent. You're bringing in legends. Now here comes Raven off his WWE release. Here comes all these other names. You're cooking now. TV in more markets, of course, that helps. Was there a moment where you start getting recognized on the streets, and you kind of thought? Was there a moment that you thought, well, heck, I'm kind of a star nowadays? Did you have any of those moments?
Yeah, there were a few. I
Hmm.
mean, people began to watch it, and believe it or not, even before all that, the true wrestling fans that say Sam Sam traveling through New York City, using the subway system, and
Hmm.
someone say, hey, you're that guy from ECW because remember that time tape trading was very
Yep.
big. So the fans that were the fans would recognize you. Yeah, like I said, even before the mainstream TV, it was incredible. Say I would be working out at the gym, and people would come up to me and recognize me. They saw me, and I'm like, well, hang on a second. There is no ECW TV in New York. Oh no, I've seen you on tape. So
Hmm.
uh, yeah, it was pretty recognizable. And even I'd be again walking through New York City, and Japanese people would stop and say, "Oh, Jason-san." I was like, "What?" I haven't even been to Japan at that time
Uh-huh.
yet. So
I totally, I get it. I remember as a kid seeing ECW and PWI in the wrestling magazines,
yeah,
and,
wrestling. Yeah,
and I was very curious. Didn't have access to the TV yet. Then Dish Network comes out. Now I'm getting the Sunshine Network and MSG.
sunshine.
Oh
Yeah,
man. And then the internet comes along. I get a web TV. I'm one of those tape traders. So I'm
yeah,
getting all the TV I missed. And me and my buddies are getting together every weekend and watching it. Like, it was a big thing back then. ECW, I had every shirt. We went to the shows. I don't think this generation knows what a big deal ECW was. They hear it, but unless you lived it, you don't know. But yeah, I'll tell you what, you'd mentioned Japan. Tell me about that first tour of Japan. What was that like for you?
yeah. I when I was training with Johnny Rods back in the '80s. Um, let's see, his Ralphie, Ralph Rodriguez,
Okay.
and his gimmick name is Jason the Terrible.
Mm-hmm.
He was big in Japan. I think pretty much Wing Promotion and FMW, and I mean he just a tremendous wrestler. That had an incredible look, and he did the whole Jason thing with a mask really well. And so years later, they bring him in to ECW, and he teamed up with the Pitbulls versus I believe it was Hack Myers and I forget. I hate to do that because I don't want to be forgetful of anyone. In any case, I apologize about that. Uh, so that's where, and I think that might have been his only time in ECW because he was living in Japan or he was living in Australia perhaps,
Mm.
and he was one of the bookers for Wing Promotion in Japan, and that's he worked with us,
Mm-hmm.
myself, the Pitbulls did a six man tag, and I I think pretty much that night he was like, hey, I want to bring you guys to Japan. Are you ready to go? And we were like, most definitely yes. So my first several times was with Wing Promotion, which was well, pretty much another ECW, but
For sure.
out of Japan, and then after that, I wrestled for Big Japan, and they were affiliated. So pretty much we were loaned to Social Pro Wrestling, Tokyo Pro Wrestling, uh, kind of wrestled for these different promotions on all the Big Japan Pro Wrestling tours, and I enjoyed them both. I enjoyed both Wing and Big Japan Pro Wrestling, and I liked it there very much. I just I love Japan, and their people, the culture. I like their way of life, and I love their food.
Mm.
And pretty much it was a no-brainer because you're traveling, you know where you're going to be. Uh, it's pretty grueling.
I'm sure. Right.
You're tired all the time because that time being younger and all that, you didn't. After the show, you want to hang out,
Right. Right.
have a few belts, and before you know it, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and they're telling you to be on the bus by 6:30. So, and then you have like a 12-hour drive or more to
Wow.
the next town. But it was. I enjoyed it very much over there. Like I said, the people are awesome, and I would do it all over again. I would do it now.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. I'm like you. I'm very interested in the culture. I've always been a fan of the wrestling over there.
Yeah.
Uh, Anybody that I can get on here that's been to Japan, I ask this question. Can you kind of compare and contrast as far as the backstage atmosphere, the fans, wrestling, Japanese wrestling compared to America? What's the similarities? What's the differences? What was like new to you when you went over there? What can you tell me about as far as that goes?
I don't know. I think I was ready for it because you hear so much about. I've had quite a few years in the business. Even before I went to Japan, so
Mm.
you hear so much about it. And you know what to expect. It was it's same but different.
Okay.
As far as I mean, it's it's another day at the office. And the fans are great. They appreciate everything. They're very attentive. And as far as the work, it's professional wrestling. I mean, I think it's the same pretty much all
Okay.
over.
Makes
You know,
sense. I got
and
you.
yeah, and I think I always say like foreign wrestlers,
Mhm.
like the Japanese and the Mexicans especially,
Mhm.
they adapt to our style much easier than we do theirs. You know, so I think they're a lot more versatile than we.
Mm.
Because we work this the left to right and what have you. And they're able to switch it off because they understand the whole concept and should I say the rules. They're very very easily adaptable. So, if, if you're say if you were in a foreign country
Hmm.
and this whatever style they work, they'll adapt to yours pretty quickly. They're that good and that talented.
Awesome. That's interesting. That's some good stuff. I appreciate that. That's some more knowledge for the podcast. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
And I'm glad you mentioned. You've been doing it for a few years before you hit ECW. What can
yeah.
you tell the audience? What was you doing before you ventured into ECW?
Oh, a whole bunch of independent wrestling, and then I had an opportunity to work for WCW.
Mm-hmm.
I did some house shows and TVs, as well as the World Wrestling Federation at the time. So I've already ventured into the big two, you know, uh, and worked with some incredible talent and some legendary performers. Ric Flair always
Heck yeah.
mine. I wrestled him in WCW and WWF, and a whole lot of I had the pleasure of wrestling Vader
Hell
one
yeah.
time ago, and I wish we would have done that more because I actually enjoyed working with him. And that's when he was fresh out of Japan. He had the big gimmick, with
Mm-hmm.
Mo coming out. Um, very impactful wrestler, and let's see. I can say that I wrestled the Undertaker before he was the Undertaker.
Right. Hell yeah.
Yeah, uh, there's some historical moments there.
That's awesome. What can you tell me about working Flair?
Just it's it's easy. It's you're out there and you're working Flair. Yeah,
Yeah. And going back to Vader, obviously you don't mind
yeah.
getting hit if you're working Vader and you enjoyed it.
No, it was I mean, I I think he was very safe and he was solid.
Mm-hmm.
And how else is a big man like that going to work? I mean, uh, he's not gonna cradle you. Obviously, you're gonna
Right.
have a wrestling match with Vader. Same with guys like Sid.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, all those all those guys to me were super professional and they knew exactly what they were doing. And the only one that's gonna hurt you is yourself. Meaning if you get scared, if you get cringy, and if you don't know what you're doing. But we're all professionals. We're trained, and if you're trained to be a professional wrestler, it shouldn't matter who you work with. You're trained to protect yourself and take care of the person you're working with. And if you're not ready for it, don't do it. Period.
Hell yeah. I appreciate that too. That's good stuff. We're talking about obviously that's a bit of an old school mentality, but that's a good old school mentality. That's just the way it is. Like you said, Vader's a
Yeah,
big guy, so what else do you expect? He's going to hit you. So
absolutely.
I
Of course.
appreciate that.
Yeah, and not only big, but he was very very sudden, and he would have those short bursts of solid moves. And if you're not ready for it, simply don't do it. Because I've heard and I've seen and I'm not going to name names, but guys backstage being glued to that chalkboard to see who they were going to work with, and
Mm.
they would see a certain name, and they would just pick up their bags and leave.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why they're not getting hired back, or but they want to come back the next time. And well, but can you please not put me with so and so? And it's like, the booker's looking at him like they have three heads. Like, are you kidding me? Are you fucking crazy? I mean, it's this is professional wrestling. You can't pick and choose. And it's like, I want to be a superstar, and I want to, but give me someone that's gonna get me over a little bit, or it's my hometown and all that shit. I mean, it's just a bunch of a bunch of pansies, that they, you know, that's why they create their own little backyardish type promotions and five
Right.
belts on line, and wear like five belts, because they're afraid to work Vader or Sid, you know. And those guys are super professionals. I mean, again, they're not going to hurt you.
Hmm.
You're going to hurt yourself because you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Right.
You don't belong in the business. So just buy a ticket and dress like the Macho Man.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I love
Yeah,
it. I dig it. You've been in the business for a minute. You've seen a lot of changes. You've seen a lot happen.
yeah.
Tell me the positive changes you've seen recently, and tell me the negative if you like as well.
God Almighty. And again, I really hate to. Uh, as far as positive, I don't really see anything.
No? Okay.
No, and plus, I haven't. I'll be very honest with you.
Mhm.
And really, on a shoot, I have not watched wrestling like on TV in well over 20 years.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
It simply doesn't attract me anymore, and it's nothing to do with tremendous young talent. The younger generation. I think they're wonderful performers, but it's not what it used to be, and it's simply not my cup of tea. I respect everyone that gets out there and they do what they do. I mean, there's no disrespect at all. It just it does not attract me. It's very much a cookie cutter, and it's almost like again, you've seen one, you've seen them all. Few and far between that shine, and you can say, well, this one is different, and this one is interesting to watch. But then again, when you throw them in the mix of a whole lot of stuff that is simply not interesting to me, you know, I don't care for it. And to me, it I've not seen anything positive. But then again, I haven't watched it because 20, 25 years ago, it really started going downhill.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
and for someone that couldn't wait for wrestling matches to be featured on TV, I couldn't wait to watch wrestling on TV. It got to a point where I'd rather get a root canal, you know, and that's bad, and that's for me.
We're,
So and I've now that I'm coming back, I've been out for like 12 years or something like that, and I just started coming back, and I've seen maybe a couple of indie shows, and it's I it's extremely hard for me to sit through it because it's not entertaining. It's all the same, and I believe that they're trying to change the formula.
mm-hmm.
That's a very bad thing, because it's like trying to defy the law of gravity. you
Yeah.
know,
No,
and it
I agree
doesn't.
110%.
Yeah. So and that's why I would like to relaunch something and make it interesting so that I can enjoy uh, coming back and being a part of the game, and other people that maybe feel the way that I do can have something back that they miss.
For sure. There should be something for everyone. Every
Yeah,
one of my guests says wrestling has something for everyone. Well, right
yeah,
now, there's not something that entertains Jason Knight, and there's
yeah.
probably people like yourself. So here
I,
you come with
I think
ACW
so.
for those people. So I respect the hell out of it. I dig it. I can't
Yeah,
wait to
yeah.
see
I,
what you guys
I,
do.
yeah. I speak to people that say, "Oh yeah, we'll mention like professional wrestling,
Hmm.
or they'll say, "Oh, you're a wrestler. Oh, I used to watch wrestling. back in the day when, but I don't anymore. And, some of these people were really avid fans, that used to enjoy the old school professional wrestling, with more less storylines that have nothing to do with competitive professional wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because it seems like nowadays everything, as far as the storyline, has nothing to do with competitive professional wrestling.
Right on.
And back in the day, you knew when Harley Race cut a promo, and he'd look at you with those squinty eyes that scared the hell out of you.
Mm-hmm.
You knew you knew that the focal fact was well, he was defending his belt, his championship
Right on.
persona,
Mm-hmm.
or winning it back from whoever beat him the last time. So, I mean, everything had to do with competitive professional wrestling. And once you bring all these storylines, with boyfriends, girlfriends, marriage, uh, start this whole thing with sexuality and different preferences and all that. It has nothing to do with professional wrestling, but I guess that's what they call sports entertainment. And you know, I don't know. I just simply don't go for that.
I,
And
I can.
that's yeah.
I,
I mean, I'm tolerant of everything and everyone, but I think that within our wrestling community, it should be competitive.
right
It
on.
needs to be out there to the fans that we're trying to compete as professional athletes,
Mm-hmm.
and not to steal someone else's girlfriend or something like that. To
And
me,
the argument could be made that a story can be told right there in the ring. You don't need a bunch of
yeah,
vignettes and everything. So
yeah,
I
yeah. I
understand
mean,
it.
yeah, yeah. There's a right way
Mm-hmm.
to introduce a storyline, and it could be done so. In other words, you kind of bring it out there directly,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to create this entire history and this entire uh, soap opera type. Uh, I, I don't know. If I could express myself, I would. But, I'm kind of at loss
I,
uh,
I I
for
definitely get what
words
you're
right
saying
now
though.
because it again, I haven't watched it, but
Mm-hmm.
whenever I do kind of like scroll through, let's say, what is that? Not just Facebook, but they have that whatever it is, a
Mm-hmm.
tweet or Twitter or whatever that. It seems that everything everything that is focused on creating a rivalry has nothing to do with professional wrestling. And I mean, I've seen some like dance offs and things that have absolutely nothing to do with athleticism. And I don't know. You give me Nick Bockwinkel versus whoever any day, and that to me is a wrestling match.
I respect it. I
Yeah,
respect it. I definitely, and hey, man, you're definitely entitled to have that opinion as long as you've been around, as much as you've seen, and as much as you've done for professional
and
wrestling.
that's for my taste only. And I don't knock anyone. If they like the modern day product, I just don't. And, I mean, we can all get along.
Yeah, I feel it. Believe me, I do. Uh, some of folks' favorite parts of these interviews are the crazy road stories, whether it be something that happened on the road, something that happened at a show. If you could just give us one, you don't even have to name names if you don't want to, but The audience would sure love to hear one.
Huh.
Or
There
you
are
can
quite
give
a few.
5. I don't give a shit.
There are quite a few, but well, here's a crazy one, and so New Jack and I were in Indiana, and we were, and this is like after the show, and we're at some place trying to buy beer or liquor or whatever. What else is new?
Mm-hmm.
So, so he he taps me. He says, "Jason, look at this motherfucker." And there was this dude. I mean, it had nothing to do with wrestling. He wasn't a wrestling fan. Apparently, this kid went to one of those, I guess, headbanging concerts or
Okay.
something like that. And then to show his loyalty to the band that performed, he took a box cutter and he cut an X across, from his front deltoid all the way down to his groin,
Oh,
like an
my.
X. And it was like this deep where you could actually see fat
Whoa.
and kind of like bleeding all over the place, and wanting to waiting in line, to get a liquor himself. And I remember, Jack asked him. He said, "What? Did you get mugged? Did you get attacked? I mean, the guy had no shirt on." He's like, "No, man, this is my loyalty." He goes, "What the fuck did you do that with?" It was out of box cutter, and I mean the damn thing. I mean, it was like at least an inch deep, coming across and coming across. That's one of the craziest things that I've seen. But I mean, road stories. They're all
Right.
everything involves what drinking, partying. Having a good time on the road. I mean, I just there were so many of them. It's hard to, but this I could never forget about this particular one,
Mm-hmm.
because again it had nothing to do with wrestling, but it's like just it was pretty sick. So
No doubt. Yeah, I'm sure. And I can see New Jack nudging you, saying, "Look at this dude," because,
yeah, I mean, yeah, we're standing there, and he's like, and I guess I was like waiting in line, just staring at, I don't know, the stars. He's like, "Man, look at it." When I turned and I looked, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was something out of a Tom Savini Tom Savini movie.
you know what? Out of almost 100 episodes, now we get a Tom Savini reference. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. Hell
Oh yeah,
yeah. Even had Pondo on here and didn't get a Savini reference. So good looking out on that.
Pondo. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We just saw Pondo a few days ago.
Really?
Yeah.
I just talked to him a couple days ago. He was
Oh
on his
yeah.
way to Florida. That's small world after all.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Hell yeah, man. I've kept you for almost an hour. We're in the final 10 minutes. The last 10
Yeah.
minutes, anything you want to plug, any of your socials, anything you want to put out there in the ether, the platform is all yours. Whatever you want to put out there, you have at it.
Well, just keep an eye out on Assault Championship Wrestling, and we're about to relaunch, and we want to do something that everybody can enjoy. So just keep your eyes and ears open.
Hell yeah. Jason, I cannot thank you enough, man. Like I
Desiree, if
say,
you have something to say, please do.
Oh, and that you will also be at New Jersey Heart in Edison. I
Okay.
believe it will be the weekend of August 18th.
Well,
You and Angel will be there.
well, there you go.
So there
ooh,
you go.
Yeah.
ooh, okay. And many thanks to you as well for running the camera, remembering these things. Is there anything you would like to put out there while we have you?
You can find Jason on Instagram and Twitter. It would be ECW Jason, I believe. I can send you those links if you want to put them in your comments.
Please do.
And with Jason's Facebook page, we've had a little bit of a problem. If you're looking for Jason's Facebook, his real Facebook, you will see a video on there, plus all his accomplishments. But you will see a video on there saying that that is his correct Facebook. So, a lot of great content. You can pretty much find out where he's going to be next and things that are going on. We also have a fan page for Assault Championship Wrestling, which you can find right on Facebook as well.
Sweet. They'll be in the description, folks. Check them out, for real. And I thank you both. Cannot thank you enough. I hope to have you back on in the future if that's something you'd be interested in.
Love to.
Awesome. And to the listeners, Jason, I'll ask you both just to hang on here with me for one moment, and I'll wrap up the show. To the listeners, this is why we do it, man. Professional wrestling. Check out some Assault Championship Wrestling. Give Jason Knight his damn due. And to the listeners, treat each other with kindness and respect. Go out there and support independent wrestling. And go live your dreams. You never know. You could be sitting there talking to an ECW icon one day in your room smoking a cigarette. You never know what'll happen.